walking side by side with death, the devil mocks their every step. The snow drives back, the foot that's slow, the dogs of doom are howling more. They ask no quarter. Good evening and welcome to the late night edition, No Quarter Podcast. I'm No25 Andrew. Thanks for tuning in. Managing your illusions. That was the last line I was just listening to, of course. Joe Rogan Experience. And they were talking about magicians. So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about magicians and managing your illusions. So we're going to do another special late night edition of the show about magic and managing your illusions. And he was talking about, I forget, it was like Tasseography, something like that. And it's like the measuring of one's fate, or the determining of one's fate. And he was saying in like Turkish traditions, they use coffee grounds. After you finish your coffee, you turn your coffee upside down. England and Harry Potter fans all know they read their tea leaves. If you ever drink tea, there's always tea leaves at the bottom of your teacup, and you got to read those. And Harry Potter fans will know that he saw the Grim. The Grim is in your tea leaves. And then there's also the one I'm crazy interested in is tarot cards. Tarot cards are another way to read somebody's fate. You shuffle the cards, and then they're just a bunch of cards with like a bunch of different pictures on them and numbers and just like symbols, essentially random symbols on a bunch of random cards. And you have somebody cut the deck, and then you read it for them. You do it because you are the reader. And that's what the guy on the podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast, Gad Sad, it's like 600 something, go listen to it, was talking about, was how you, like, shit, I lost my train of thought. The reader of the tarot cards gets so good at reading tarot cards that they understand the patterns, that they can just throw random lines out there to anyone, and most everyone will hit it, like horoscopes. Horoscopes are so vague, and they get shot out to everybody, and they fucking resonate with more than half, or like, how many people read horoscopes? Everybody reads horoscopes. So they were saying that the people who write those horoscopes, the people who read the tarot cards, the people who are doing magic are just using patterns. They were talking about Penn and Teller and how he can do shit. And they were talking about, I've seen like Chris Angel walk up to random people and be like, or I saw this one, I don't know, it was Chris Angel, it was like some street magician, and he took this guy's watch, like right off of him, and pickpocketed his wallet. And I think it was like a misdirection article on Huffington Post, but it's like, if you can control that person's focus, then that person will focus on what you want them to focus on, not what you not want them to focus on. So like, hey, look at the sun while I steal your pocket, don't look at your pocket. Think about sex or something. Think about something incredible. And you robbed. I just robbed you, So I think those are like real tricks, and like I think those are, I don't know. That's why I like tarot cards and magic, is because I think those are like advertising. I was just talking to my buddy last night about this, and he was talking about Mad Men. I don't know if anybody has seen the TV show Mad Men, but apparently Mad Men is a very good television show, all about advertising and the manipulation of people's psyche through advertising, like sex sells. That's why they use like sex to sell like hamburgers and shit, because sex sells. And they know that if we show a big double D breasts in front of this McDouble, you're gonna want a McDouble because your dick's hard. And the women want big breasts. And I don't know. I want to learn more about it, but it's so deep. It goes so far to your subconscious that it's almost kind of like intimidatingly scary. And the people who know the most about this are clearly in charge. So you could learn the tools yourself, but the people in charge have them been implemented for so long now that there's not much. Like, I don't know, that's why cops are red and blue. Sirens, I don't know. Red, white, and blue, our flag, I don't know, because I think subconsciously those colors resonate through like studies, or I think they've done I'm sure they've done scientific studies where they've asked people what's your favorite color, and they've come up with the most favorite color in the world. And I think I'm just guessing, but like there's statistics out there that say red is the most favorite color in the world because it shows power or some shit. So that's why they make fucking fire trucks red. I don't know, blood is red, so that's why they associate it with power and life. And ambulances are red, and doctors wear a red cross. I don't know, it's super, super interesting, and I really want to get more into definitely the reading of tarot cards. I gotta get myself a deck. I know there's so many decks out there, and it's like getting into collecting cards all over again, where there's good ones and there's bad ones, and everybody wants to trade. So I want to get a cool deck of my own. I'll do some research on it as well, but I also love that idea of how I started was managing your illusions, and how if you can focus your mind, you can obtain things, and everything that ever was imaginated, essentially. That's a Joe Rogan quote that I love to listen to. It's your imagination, like the light bulb wasn't a thing until somebody had to imagine it and make it. So anything that you can imagine, you can make. And I love the simplicity and the downright absurdness of it. It's how I originally got into that idea was Zen Buddhism, and the guy who got me into Zen Buddhism was Alan Watts. I had already studied Buddhism and Hinduism and Catholicism. I'd taken a few classes on world religions, and I liked the Buddhism religion because it was more philosophical. It was like, it wasn't just telling an imaginary story of Moses and Jesus and God and a burning bush, and it wasn't just telling a story. Buddhism was telling a real story of somebody that really lived 1,000 years ago. He was a king who really lived 1,000 years ago, named Siddhartha Gautama, who was raised in complete riches. He had all the riches he could ever want, and he got all the pleasures he ever want. And from the first day he was born, he got all the food, he got all the he had harems full of women. He had food. He never saw anybody sick or ill or die. And then one day, I forget how it happened, but he got tired of it, so he went outside his castle walls. He had never been outside his castle walls before, and he went outside his castle walls. And the first day he saw somebody who was like super skinny and sick, and they had like leprosy and terrible skin, malignant diseases and such. And he saw them, and he was like, "Whoa, what's that? That's far out. What's wrong with that guy?" And he's like, "I'm sick." And he's like, "Whoa, what's sick? I didn't know I didn't know people got sick. What was sick? What is that? That's sick." And so it threw his head in a tossy-turvy, and then he went back to the castle where everything was groovy, and he went back out again. And the second day, he saw, I'm trying to remember, there's 3 days he went out. One day he saw somebody sick. One day he saw somebody like hungry, I think. Like the third day he saw somebody dead. He saw a dead body. And he was like, holy cow, what's that? What is that? And it was a dead body. And he's like, what? Bodies die? No way. Why do bodies die? This is far out. Well, I don't get... I'm telling this story like a fucking nerdy white loser sitting there with a Gautama, but it's my version of the Buddhist origin story. And so he meditated on it. He essentially left he was a prince, he left his kingdom, and he followed spiritual gurus, and he went from one guru to the next, just like kind of showing them up. Every guru would be like, oh, I'm the happiest man, and this is the way to nirvana. And he'd be like, what's the way? There is no, and he'd be like, there is no path, or like, he would like get all Buddha on him, be like, and then all those spiritual gurus would be like, holy cow, you're the Buddha. And he'd be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go now, I gotta go look for whatever this is. And so he went, and he got all these followers, and he got all these disciples, and he sat under a Bodhi tree forever, and that's where he became spiritually enlightened and became the enlightened being. And then he died like a normal person, because I think he ate like poisoned moldy bread, because he was like a Buddhist monk, and he didn't like, he would just beg for food, and people would give him food, and somebody gave him some food, and the food wasn't good, and he died, or something like that. I don't know, it's not like majestic, like he was nailed to a cross, or I don't know. I know Hindi gods get like their heads chopped off, and Greek gods get their shit comeuppance and whatnot, but his was just like, oh, and then he died. Okay, that's a normal ass story. And this dude, you just have to read some of the Buddhist teachings, and that was just the story, the cool story of it. There's tons of, I think that was like probably the main story, but there's a lot of like little teachings in Buddhism where they're just like everyday things that could take you. Like I would highly recommend Alan Watts. I've listened to, he's a poet, he's a philosopher, he's a writer. He's an Englishman. And he was one of the first people to decipher the Buddhist teachings to me, and kind of like helped me see a lot of really, really a different way of looking at life. And that's what I'm talking about now, managing your illusions, managing what people can do to you through magic, and what you can do to the world and other people through magic. Because other people are your world. Your world is here and now, and you living, breathing, you're capable of magic through your imagination. And I think I might sound a lot too rambling right now, and you guys hear that dog barking. It's a beautiful night outside. I hope you can hear the crickets. It is gorgeous out. I'm gonna call it a nice evening. Thank you for tuning in. I really enjoy doing these. Again, stay tuned. I'll keep pumping them out. Listen to Alan Watts, listen to Joe Rogan, study Buddhism, be open-minded, have a good perspective, be optimistic, send out good vibes, make the best of the situation. All those things are much easier said than done, but I really believe that those are the teachings, those are the real, that's the real advice. Like, be careful whose advice you take, but I'm trying to remember. Be careful whose advice you take, but be patient with those who give it, because advice is a way of recycling the old, painting over the bad parts, and giving it away for more than it's worth for free. So advice is a pretty gnarly thing, but just be careful whose advice you take. No 25 Andrew, I'm out. That was a bit of a writing from one of my favorite writers in Chicago. Listen to Wear Sunscreen YouTube video. It's the best. All right, that's enough. Thank you so much. You don't have to do any of those videos. You don't have to listen to anything. You don't even have to listen to me. I doubt anybody even is. Alrighty. Thank you so much. Anybody, if anybody. I'm looking for shooting stars. There's supposed to be a comet tonight and a trail of stars. I see the Big Dipper, but that's all. Alright, that's all, folks. Biggity dippity out. Peace. I made it. This is a podcast of hope. Close the door, put out the light. You know they won't be home tonight. You chose the path where no one goes. We hold no quarter.